It's me, Mohammed Amin again. Relating to the second question, what are the significant events in the Arab region and what's my opinion about them? Well, everybody knows that the Arab region have been boiling under major and crucial events, especially those last uprisings which began in Tunisia and spread to Egypt, as seen by the same way Hosni Mubarak and Zine Abidine Ralavi. And now we can clearly see how the domino effect is kind of burning the whole region, making from Libya and Yemen and even Syria now a battlefield between the regimes and the people. In Morocco, actually, and in Algeria, it has been less sensitive and less prominent, since the regimes are somehow less brutal in dealing with the protests, which kind of brought this legitimacy or this feeling of justice people saw in the ruling elite, because they didn't have to take major decisions as to shut down the protests through the police interventions and the military forces actions in the area. So I think this is a major event. These are major events which the Arab region have always been hoping for. Science is going to bring a new future, maybe a bright future or a deadly future, but the transition is there. We can clearly see that the oppressing regimes are not having this kind of ultimate power anymore over the people, and the people understood that the fact that they are ruled by a certain elite doesn't give this elite ultimately the right to do whatever they want. It's like as per they were managing a certain corporation. It's the country is mutual duty, the people and the ruling elite has a mutual duty to work for the development and advance of the country in a certain way, economically and politically. So the actions taken are to be taken from both sides and wisely. I think those the protests and the uprising going on right now in the Arab region is a sign of hope for the people who have been always oppressed by the regimes and oppressed by the dictatorship who has been ruling the Arab region for decades and even for centuries. So I think people are hopeful, even if they have to give sacrifices, and that's what we see during those protests. People are dying, people are being killed, but this is kind of the price to pay to regain freedom, freedom of speech, freedom for political rights and political involvement in the management of the country. But also it's kind of a recovery of dignity, a dignity the Arab people have always been looking for, but they haven't been granted for a simple cause, which is that the Arab leaders, which I don't consider as leaders so far, but they have always been fulfilling a certain outside agenda, a foreign agenda. They weren't working for their people as long as they, but instead they were kind of trying to make themselves richer, more powerful, and by serving the foreign forces, such as the United States or even Europe, because as we know, they have so many interests and so many resources to exploit that they can easily appoint some of their agents, which are those dolls they play with and which we consider as Arab leaders, in order to protect their rights, to use and manage the resources, and to keep an eye on the bad people the West sees as a threat toward their security. I believe that we won't see such an uprising in Morocco, even if some people tend to say that the events of Dimizik were kind of a sign that the Sahrawi are starting to express their voices and to go against the oppressing or the unfair treatment the Moroccan authorities lead. Actually, it has been clearly seen that it has no political extent and no the protests were not really meant to call for certain independence or for certain political solution. Rather, they were simply a call to recover social interests, social rights, which is legitimate under the conditions the Sahrawi and even the Moroccan face in the southern Morocco, and where certain officials had been leading a corrupted policy, and they were enriching themselves while taking out the rights and the resources from the people there. So if the monarchy in Morocco is kind of looking forward to make from this country a more developed country, a more peaceful country, they have certainly to work towards granting certain rights and leaving certain privileges they have been granted throughout the ruling years. So I mean, this is kind of a dilemma now. Everybody is a mutual sacrifice, but it's a win-win situation for the monarchy to stay there, to be more stable and more loved by people, and at the same time giving people dignity, human rights, and the access to the resources and to the social standards they are granted by international laws and by human laws as well. So to sum up things, I mean, the uprisings going on right now are a major and significant events in the history. The people in the Arab region are rewriting the history by themselves, and I think that everybody wants to be part of it. Nobody wants to be neglected in this kind of reshaping of the Arab history. So I believe that all the Arab countries and all the Arab people will join this uprising movement, and even if we'll have ultimately to go through a bloody transition period, but nonetheless the result and the final outcome is going to be for the benefit of the development of the Arab region in the near future.